Just 3 hours before the deadline, Congress avoids a government shutdown. Washington, the Senate voted 88-9 on Saturday night to pass a short-term bill to keep the government open, averting a shutdown at the last minute after a dramatic turnaround in the waning hours. Time equals 400 ms. greater than the bill, which passed the House earlier by a substantial bipartisan vote of 335-91, now goes to President Joe Biden, who is expected to sign it into law. Follow along for live updates. The legislation keeps the government funded at existing levels through November 17 and authorizes additional disaster relief money, giving Congress more time to reach a full-year funding agreement. That will still be a towering challenge ahead of the new November deadline, but it avoids for now a shutdown that would have put pay for millions of Americans in jeopardy. The deal excludes aid to Ukraine. A provision from the bipartisan Senate bill that Speaker Kevin McCarthy axed, saying it should be considered separately at a time to be determined. After 2 weeks of chaos in the House, the breakthrough arrived with just hours to spare before a shutdown when McCarthy announced Saturday morning that he would drop the Republican demands for spending cuts and policy provisions on immigration in order to hold a quick House vote on a clean stopgap bill. 1 day earlier, 21 GOP hardliners tanked his more conservative short-term funding bill, and McCarthy said Saturday that vote left him with no choice but to take this course. The Senate vote came after a delay that multiple Republican senators said was caused by Senator Michael Bennet, D. Colo, apparently due to concerns about the lack of Ukraine funding. Just ahead of the vote, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, DNY, reiterated the Senate's commitment to providing additional aid for Ukraine, saying that he and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who has championed funding for the country, have agreed to continue fighting for more economic and security aid for Ukraine. We support Ukraine's efforts to defend its sovereignty against Putin's aggression, Schumer said. McConnell followed, saying he is confident that the Senate will pass more urgent assistance to Ukraine later this year. But let's be clear, noting that the alternative, a shutdown, would not just pause our progress on these important priorities, it would actually set them back. The Biden administration labeled the CR a big victory on funding levels and keeping the government open, according to a senior administration official. The White House was committed to standing firm in refusing to renege on the 2-year budget deal struck in May with McCarthy. Senior aides such as White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients, Senior Counselor Steve Ricchetti, Director Shalonda Young and Legislative Affairs Director Shuwanza Goff were all in touch with Democrats and Republicans in recent days, said White House officials. There was close coordination with Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, DNY, the officials added. The White House also maintained that it was the right approach to avoid a meeting between Biden and McCarthy, the officials said.